Okay, good morning. I'd like to call to order the Palomar Water Control District meeting for September 5th, 2024. On page one is your proof of publication. Mr. Camaras, can you please establish a quorum?
Certainly. Commissioner Marino, absent. Vice Chair Stokas,
Present.
Commissioner Hurd,
Right here.
Supervisor Whiting, Supervisor Cutting.
Here.
Looks like we have 4 out of the 5 supervisors here, and we've established a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you, Mr. Camaras. At this time, we'll be looking for any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda. Are there any?
None at this time.
Wonderful. We're now looking for an approval of the June 17th meeting minutes. Looking for a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Old business, doesn't appear like there is any. Nope. Okay, new business, consider selection of professional for surveying services on page 9 of your agenda. Mr. Camaras?
Yes, in your books on page 9, if you recall, we had the RFQ that we did a couple of meetings ago, and then we reissued the RFQ a second time after we took out the fee request, and there was only one submittal, and that was WGI. So I've put that in your books for review. It looks like Mr. Higgins just got here as well. He may have more comments on it, but this was the only response to the second RFQ that we put out.
And Mr. Camaras, if you could let the record reflect that Chairman Marino has arrived. Oh, no, I was trying to get the meeting done before you got here, quite frankly. Mr. Higgins, as you take your seat, do you have any comments in regards to the surveyor proposal? Yes, we purposely try and make that button very difficult to switch up and down. There you go.
I'm somewhat surprised that there's only one response, and due to the fact that there's no pressing need for a survey tomorrow, my recommendation is to re-advertise and let me make some phone calls.
Okay.
One general question. Did we have a preliminary scope of work that went out with the request for qualifications?
Yes, there is one.
Okay. I had not seen that yet. Is that something that is available or?
Yeah, Andrew should be able to get it to you.
Okay. And don't know how comprehensive that was. Was it an in total survey or did it break it out, portion by portion, by objective? What did we do?
It's not a huge, lengthy scope. It's more generic, but it does get the job done. But I don't think there's been any discussion on specific items that the board would like to see as a result of the survey.
And would providing a more specific scope for the objectives we're looking for, are we surveying everything that the district uses as a inspection easement, or are we surveying everything that was expressed in deed by deed, et cetera? So if we, if we limited that scope, might it attract more people? Might they say, okay, this is a smaller, manageable project versus,
No, I'm comfortable with the scope as is.
okay.
Any other questions?
Do you have any question, is there any concerns regarding their qualifications from your professional point of view? Because really, we're doing it based on, it's a request for qualifications, not, or based under CCNA, right? Not,
Correct.
okay.
I don't have any questions about their qualifications. They look like they're very qualified to me. So I would move that we rebid the project and try to attract more bidders.
Okay. Second.
I can agree with that.
Okay, all in favor? I think we're all in favor.
Aye.
Good.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
This on?
It is.
Okay. All right. So are we on G2 now?
We are on, yes, G2.
Okay. So, Andrew, would you want to
Yes.
elaborate on that?
Yes, on page 44 of your books is Resolution 2024-04. This is a housekeeping item, and I'd actually like to point out there's a couple typos in it as well. The Scrivener's is misspelled. And then in the middle section there, renumbered to 2024-23, that should be 2024-3 or 03. So what happened is at the April meeting, there was a resolution that was passed. It was walked on at the meeting as 2024-01. And then when we did the June meeting, we had restarted numbering at 1. That was not in our records. So this is just a housekeeping to clean up to make sure all of the resolutions are in order.
Thank you.
Move approval of resolution number 2024-04 with the additions and corrections.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And we are now on G3, goals and objectives, page 47.
Yes, this is in your books on page 47. So there's a new requirement from the House Bill 7013 that requires special districts to adopt goals and objectives before October. What we've put together here for you on page 49 is Exhibit A, and this is pretty standard, what we've been doing for most of our districts. And this is adopting the goals and objectives of the district. And essentially, you're creating a test and then grading yourselves a year from now on how you did. So we are trying to keep it very consistent with what we already do. So as you can see, it's Exhibit A on page 49. Happy to answer any additional questions, or possibly your attorney, Ms. Garrett's here as well. If not, we would look for a motion to adopt 2024-05.
Ms. Garrett, anything you'd like to add?
Not really to add, I would just also recommend that we keep it as simple as it can be and comply with the statute, rather than imposing additional standards that you have to meet. You can do that elsewhere if you like.
I would agree. Any other comments?
Move approval of resolution number 2024-05, goals and objectives.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, G4. I have a question. So this is a consider appointment of an audit committee and approval of evaluation criteria. Are we already late in this now?
No. So you already have an auditor that's been doing the services, and they'll go ahead and knock out 2023, 2024. The 2023 audit was just due at the end of June. So this is for the current year we're in, which wouldn't be due until next June.
Okay, so their contract is to also include the 2023-2024 audit.
Correct. And you'll see on the top of page 51, the fiscal years, the first one that would be out of the first three before the two-year option is the 2023-2024 year that we're currently in.
And are they going to bid on can we just extend their contract? I was trying to, sorry, I'm a little late to the game today. So,
Sure.
can you explain where they are with their?
Absolutely. Currently, we are in the last year of the two-year option of the current contract, and we're required every 5 years to go out for bid for a new auditor. You can keep the same auditor when the bids come back if you'd like. But what we were doing today is asking the board to appoint themselves as the audit committee and adopt the criteria listed on page 51 so that we could advertise to get bids, and then we'll bring that back to the audit committee, which is the board, if you've appointed yourselves as the audit committee, to make a recommendation to the board for approval. And again, you can stay with the same auditor, you can change, we just have to go out to bid every 5 years.
Okay. That answers my questions. Thank you very much. Anyone else have questions? Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to, we don't have to make a motion, we're just appointing ourselves, right?
I believe we need a motion to appoint yourselves as the audit committee, and then a second motion or together to adopt the criteria for advertising.
Move staff's recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. All righty. We are now at our status reports. Any legal updates for us?
I have nothing for you.
Okay. Engineer?
On page 54 is your map.
On page 54, you find a map with a cross, just like coincidence.
Sorry.
Just by pure coincidence, I came across this map. It fits with the discussion that occurred the last board meeting about inflow into the chimney area from Payson Park. This particular map does show that that whole western part of Payson Park does in fact go into Palmar. And this map dates back to the 80s. But anyway, the outcome of the inflow, though, it goes back into Payson Park to the east at the north end and into the C-44. But it also shows on the west side of the chimney, there's a fairly sizable drainage area that goes to a ditch on the west boundary that continues northward to the C-44. I just thought that would be of interest since we just recently discussed it. Other than that, things have been fairly quiet. I don't know if that's good news or, but there's no other activities that I can report on.
So so are you certifying this to be 100% accurate then?
It was accurate for its intended purpose when it was drawn, yes.
And so there is no net effect to Palmar?
This particular map indicates that there is, but physically what's out in the field today, there's very little impact to Palmar.
And who's maintaining these drainage areas?
As far as I know, Payson Park.
Anyone else have questions?
So is the drainage in 2024 different than it was in the 80s? And if so, why?
Not significantly different.
Okay.
We did find out since this map that there is another outlet at the north end, that this particular map does not reflect that.
Okay.
The east to west line there on the, north to south line on the easterly portion, if I've got this correct, that ditch occurs in Palmar District and occurs on property that is drainage incidental to roadway or something? Is that a correct description of where that ditch lies?
I do not believe that that particular ditch is part of works of the district.
Okay.
I think it's an agricultural ditch that's been there for, obviously, 50 years.
But its physical location does not coincide with what has been established or recorded at one time as potential Palmar responsibility for drainage, or set aside for a potential drainage incidental to roadways, et cetera.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I think, Madam Chair, if I remember correctly, I think Martin County has a number of these types of ditches that were created in the 40s and the 50s as agricultural ditches. And at one point there was some, if we went into deeper dive, I think with our county survey department, I think they found where they were actually all surveyed and I want to say permitted. I don't know if that would be the correct word at the time, but then I think they were abandoned. There was something where they were abandoned or the county was no longer responsible or the farm. So this might be a leftover of that, because I know there's a couple more as you go eastbound along, I guess it's Canner Highway out there, if I'm not mistaken.
That would be typical.
And they all lead to the Okeechobee Waterway,
C-44,
C-44.
yes.
My only concern addresses the aggrieved property owner stated that, are we concerned about drainage? And it appears that if this does not occur in any Palomar dedicated property, that it's basically a discussion or agreement between two property owners, not anything to do with Palomar. Would that be a fair statement?
Could be viewed that way, yes.
Okay.
Any more questions about this?
No, thank you.
Mr. Higgins, anything else?
No,
Okay. District Manager.
The only thing I have for you today is, if you haven't met her already, this is Stephanie Brown.
Well, not much has changed. I have washouts there that are just getting worse and worse. I'm not gonna mess with them until rainy season is over. I flag them off. I put tape up, caution tape around them, try to keep it safe for people who wanna run around. And, I found that, I got, somebody sent me an email, somebody on, Facebook was saying there was a lot of activity at Gate 1 where I don't go through because of easement access, where we have a property owner says they don't want me to go through there, and I was told by our lawyer engineer to stay out of there. But I took pictures of that where they put crushed rock on top of that mile going in on FWC's, going to the B house, what's in there. It just stops there in front of there, and it looks
Who put the
like-
crushed rock there?
Huh?
Who put the crushed rock there?
Well,
It's not a road.
No, it's just crushed rock.
Put the rock there, do you know?
House right there when you go into Palmar, what's owned by Zach. It's, he's got parking spots there, put a Jiffy John there. Here's some of the pictures here of it going in. Right here. They didn't grind it down. Really, it's beautiful to me. It's not holes and all this, and it's a lot of money. I went down it with my four-wheeler because there's a part where I can get through, without, here's the B house, as you can see. You see the Jiffy John over there with the parking there. So this is where it's coming right into the Palmar, the private lots. And that's as far as it goes, is right there. And you can keep going. There's these washouts. I talked to a friend of mine that has a Bobcat. He used to do a lot of slabs for me. He's licensed and everything like that. And I can get a price from him cheaper than most subs. I don't have to mess with him. He'll come out there. I'm waiting for the rainy season beer because all that stuff will just wash right down. And he told me he could do this for 95 an hour, 4-hour minimum. And, just getting the machines and stuff out there is a real pain. And that's my problem with everybody else. They see getting their stuff out there. I was trying to get it done with a backhoe. And that's what I was working on, because I was gonna try to put in culverts, but I'm gonna put swells in, and just, instead of a culvert, put like a swell where the water can clearly go through there, because I have one other place like that. And I drive through it and there's no problem. And it's not a safety hazard. It don't wash out nothing. Saves us money. I do whatever I can to save y'all money, but just that action up there in the front, who, when it was put in, has probably saved FWC, us, over $10,000 of labor and rock, and it took care of a lot of washouts, which I didn't go down. I go down in a different area, but but basically that's it. I don't see many people out there. I go very early. I'm out there before the sun comes up, and I'm out of there. It's so hot out there.
Okay.
All right, well,
Any questions?
Yeah, I want our engineer and our attorneys to tell us what obligations we have to fix these washouts and turn them into roads.
These are all on the canals.
Yeah, I would express it in another way as well, as a question. I don't know if this goes to the Attorney General or who would be able to answer this for us, but what legal obligation do we have to private property owners to restore property that's been damaged by misuse? And what obligation do we have to protect those property owners from misuse of pathways that we've established, and then they become, incidental roadways or whatever you want to call them, but we're opening up a path basically across somebody's private property. Do we have any responsibility for what happens afterwards? I don't know.
That would be an attorney question.
Yeah, don't worry about it. They've seen whatever they need to see. As far as all that is, we had the signs up, no vehicular man, as to go on these canal sides. We've made no trails. The works are there. This has all been tore up since all these people are out there. You've seen pictures of where it's been graded, and that's mainly where the washouts are. Some of those roads weren't graded, they got grass on them. And if nobody would have touched them in the first place, all these washouts and everything wouldn't be there either, because they would have looked like the other ones.
Yeah, pardon me, but your inspection of the properties out there does not by any means create enough of an impact to kill all the grass and basically
Oh, no,
end up with,
I mean,
yeah.
When I was out there before, I worked out there for 9 years. I was out there when hardly anybody was out there.
Yeah.
And it slowly got more people out there, not by me, because I didn't want nobody out there. And because I hunted out there. I don't hunt no more, and it's it's what's happened with this four-wheel operation of everybody. And I remember when I four-wheeled in the 70s at the end of 441 and Okeechobee Boulevard, the mud flats, we called it. But, it was the same thing. I didn't have a big four-wheel drive, but my buddies did, and we just went out there and drank beer. But it was the same thing.
Well, the water control district, the water control district is not out there to build roads. And the word road does not appear in our works of the district.
No, and
And nor should we be
yeah.
facilitating the ability for folks to be building roads out there. However, we have to remember, we are about the works of the district. So that our attorney would probably caution us on what is our purview and what is not our purview. But as far as I'm concerned, we can let everything, all the grass grow.
Absolutely, yeah.
If I could add-
That's what preserves the
I
canal
wish
banks.
it would grow.
And what I'm saying is financially, before, we ask whoever to reach into their pocketbooks and write us a check to maintain the works, why are we doing that? Are we doing that because we need TJ to ride up and down and inspect it, or are we doing it because misuse has occurred to the point where a negative financial impact hits the property owners and hits the district? And how do we protect ourselves from that? That is my question. Again, back to the,
So I've made note of the question and will communicate it to Ruth to look at it in more depth. I mean, offhand, I am skeptical that the district has an obligation to restore or protect the property unless the district has contributed somehow to letting it happen, unless the district has played some role in it. But I don't know all the background details well enough to give an opinion right now. I will pass it on to Ruth.
Thank you. Mr. Higgins?
Yeah, the issue is those are maintenance berms, and they're very inviting to people to use incorrectly. And also, there's an obligation of Palmar to maintain those maintenance berms, and they're supposed to be graded away from the canal to prevent erosion, gullies like that going into the canal. But it's been an age-old problem with people thinking that those maintenance berms are public roads. They're not. They're maintained just so that there's the ability to maintain the canal.
okay, and just another point of clarification, but the maintenance berm is strictly maintenance. It is not a control structure or part of water retainage or et cetera. Just maintenance and inspection pathway only? So,
Yes.
okay. My comment would be maintain it to the minimal degree that TJ is able to drive down, and that's it.
Yeah, well,
Don't
that's
spend a
what
penny
I've
more.
said all along,
Yeah.
until my safety, it, you know, if somebody wants to, you know, we've already had people out there that's run off of the berm on the outside into a ditch here and there. But till my safety is, that, I'm the only one, and I say, if we put those signs back up, they probably won't last a month, you know, because these, you know, all of a sudden they just started disappearing. They've been there for many years. I put them up. I was out there with an auger putting them in. And they've been there many years, and then all of a sudden, you know, they start disappearing awful quick. You
Well,
know,
I think
they were-
it's our responsibility to do the maintenance that protects the works of the district and nothing more.
The signage, and again, maybe this is just silly things that I've learned over the years that are not correct, but putting up a no trespassing sign on your property, taking a picture of it, and sending it to the sheriff's office basically handles the responsibility of a no trespass situation. If somebody comes along and tears down that sign, has our obligation been met? That we have warned people in some way? And if we don't put up any signs, you know, the new people coming and going all the time, have we done anything to try and at least inform them, you shouldn't be here?
Yeah, that's kind of a law school exam question, but it, and I don't think it's appropriate for me to get into hypothesizing
Yeah,
right now, but
okay.
it's certainly, we'll look into what the parameters are on it. If the sign is posted and then taken down, I don't know, there's a lot more factual questions to answer about how that's happening.
Thank you.
We survey those works that we have the canals on. I don't know what the law is about it, but if they're surveyed, we can put trespassing signs up. But
It's a question of how long they will last.
the people who own lots that back up to that canal and go to the center, I don't know what to do about them, but those trespassing things would account to everybody else. But we can't put trespassing signs up unless something's surveyed. And
Okay.
I don't know. That's,
Somehow we need to protect the canal and access to the canals, protect the works, and also at the same time discourage people from trespassing on them. And it can be done. It can be designed in a way that that protects the works and discourages access. And we're just going to have to figure out how we do that. Maybe it may cost us a lot of money, but that's our responsibility.
I feel the same way that property owners, whoever they are, should be able to say, look, don't abuse this little canal path. I want to put my tent there, or
You
know,
can
whatever it is.
walk it, you can ride a bicycle on it,
Absolutely,
and that's
that's
it.
correct.
yeah,
All right.
The way it used to be, right, TJ?
that's it. I mean, it was beautiful out there when I was there. But no more. That's about it.
Thanks, TJ.
Thank you. All righty. Do we have a security report? How are
y'all
you
doing?
today?
I gave a paper. I think y'all have that. This is for the off-duty report. Basically, over the summer months that we had, approximately 342 users contacted, 38 verbal warnings, written warnings, and citations. Not a lot of them were verbal warnings. Most of them are documented. One reckless discharge encounter. It was a juvenile firing without supervision of an adult. That was addressed by the officer, and then we put the GPS for all the washouts we've been seeing, but he obviously knows about them. Just assisting the public with stuck ATVs and UTVs. When the public requests while we're out there, we can't overlook that request. Lots of safe target practice that we've observed. You know, people having a backstop or a berm or, you know, that stuff. We did find 2 firearms abandoned that were recovered and turned over to Sheriff's Office. Some illegal camping on South Florida Water Management property on the levee. And then we had one incident of fleeing and eluding from law enforcement out there, and that's still under investigation. I think that's about it. We got hunting season coming up, so we do anticipate more violations out there. There's been locations that are found that are people will be trespassing on with tree stands and stuff set up, so that's just a potential violation. We do expect traffic to pick up out there during this winter season. It's cooler, more people to be out there recreating, so that's all we have for the off-duty report right now.
And the hunting stands were put up by whom?
We have no idea. It's just somebody puts a tree stand up on property, and we just have to see who shows up. If we knew who did it now, we could mark them, but we'd rather catch them in the tree stand so then we do know who put them up.
Right. And you're speaking about tree stands that are within the wildlife management area or outside of the WMA?
Outside of the WMA. No, these
And-
are going to be on like South Florida Water Management or Martin County properties that we, while we're traversing the area for Palomar, have discovered.
Okay, I'm just curious, how do you identify that property as Martin County or South Florida Water Management?
So it'll be either with property appraisers. Is typically what we do with GPS, and we're not looking for things on the border. We're not split T's, but if it's smack dab in the middle of a parcel of, 5 or 6 South Florida Water Management properties, and the district, South Florida Water Management District would have to say on that.
A general GPS location is sufficient for you to establish trespass by versus a complete total survey of a property.
Well, so we wouldn't be charging trespassing. We'd be charging for the unlawful hunting on South Florida Water Management. That's its own administrative code, so it wouldn't be dealing with the trespassing, no trespassing situation. When it comes to, these are also not on easement, disputes it, or anything like that. It's like it's South Florida owns that parcel, and there's nothing, there's not a lot of claim from either ways. It's just what we typically find when people are poaching animals.
Okay, just curious, but what is the penalty if you catch somebody in a tree stand poaching off of a South Florida water?
It would be a second-degree misdemeanor.
A second-degree misdemeanor?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And then there was one issue, just for looking into the future of the maintaining of the easements and stuff like that, with putting up the no trespassing signs on that. Our concern with law enforcement would be, if it is a private property that is owned that the district has an easement through, that may not be the correct verbiage you might want to use. If it's just something more like maintenance berm, maintained by the district, or something to that effect versus the no trespassing, because that no trespassing is going to be more difficult to enforce until we have a survey in hand and it actually shows who owns what and all that. But that's just our general, recommendation for you guys.
Thank you.
All right, and then for the rest of the meeting, I'll be here for FWC, and if you have any questions for the agency.
Perfect.
Sure. One last question on safe shooting. Are they all internal properties or any of them set up along canal banks? Where do they basically have the berms?
Are you asking, are they shooting on the works of the district, or are you asking if are they on a private property?
Correct.
Discharge?
Are these on the works of the district shooting down a canal bank into a berm, or are they within the private properties that the shooting occurs?
It's hit or miss, because you have, from what we've seen using the same GPS stuff that we use to see, and that's something when it comes down to court stuff, we do, if need to, get a survey and all that to prove it in court. But for the establishing probable cause in the field of where the location is, we do see a lot of overlaps with the works of the district with private property landowners that sometimes on property appraisers, it shows them owning to the middle of the canal. So you would say, using the same, practice that we do with regular law enforcement out there, we would say that they were the owners, out there to the middle. So whether they're discharging on their property, but they're on the levee, it might be works of the district, but it's also private property in our normal practice of law enforcement. So it's for us, it's a great area for me to say it's on the works of the district or it's on private property. We would, from what the normal practice that we do, some of it occurs on both, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. And I'm specific concern. TJ's already said he goes out early. Nobody's bothering him. Personally, I've been on a canal bank with people shooting down that canal bank.
Correct. And if, depending on which direction the incident of the juvenile firing that actually was shooting incidentally towards the officer. So that's how that officer found that, came across this situation. And it was a juvenile firing recklessly, and the parent was addressed. That situation was dealt with law enforcement. But yes, it was shooting down. That was the incident of reckless discharge. If it's something where they're shooting straight down the canal bank, often, those are quarter-acre parcels and stuff like that, so that you'd have numerous violations, but that's going to be your reckless discharge, and we only had one incident of that where they're just blankly firing down the whole canal bank. Most of it's been on their own private property.
All right. Your judgment better than mine, but when it comes to a 300-yard shot versus 25 yards into a pile of dirt.
Correct.
the
Most
25 yards.
we haven't seen any long-range stuff. That juvenile was the one incident where I'd say 100% that was reckless and it was dealt with. But most of it's like a 25-yard shot or they're shooting into a tree. Most of that discharge out there that you hear rapid fire, but you walk up and they got a berm or on their
Relatively
own.
contained. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Well, most of it's been safe.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hurd, did you have?
Yeah. First of all, this is very helpful.
Okay.
It's a nice record. We'll be able to judge whether we're progressing or not.
Right.
And also, I'm asking as a Martin County Commissioner, what's your assessment of the proliferation of unpermitted structures in Palmar?
Can you? I mean, I'm a police officer. Can you define what
Any
proliferate means?
an increase?
An increase in the structures out there.
Yeah.
It is the wet season. We had actually one of the people that put a camper out there, or I don't know if that you define that as a structure.
Sure.
But the flooding itself, when it gets really wet, takes care of a lot of that increase. So a lot of what we're seeing is just maintaining. And I say in the overall violations that are out there are going down. From the summer months is when kids are out of school and all that, and we didn't have a lot of issues out there. Typical stuff here and there, but nothing I would say that would even noteworthy. 3 months of stuff was in one bullet, a couple bullet points. So it was overall not crazy out there. And then the structure increase, I said that the water flooding takes care of that. They may put one up in the summer, but come the wet season, it's flooding it out and they're taking it down and pulling it somewhere else.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions? No? Thank you very much. Okay. This Financial report, page 55.
Yes, page 55 in your books. As you can see at the bottom, the current fund balance is approximately 1.9 million. Happy to answer any questions if there are any, but everything is moving along normally.
Any questions? No? Okay. Invoices, page 56. Anybody have any questions about the invoices?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much, 5-0. Comments from the public, landowner items. Any landowner want to comment? Any comments from the public for items not on the agenda? Come on up to the podium, sir. Thank you for being here. Thank you for WGI putting in a bid.
Thank you. I
for
guess it was on the
qualifications.
agenda, so hopefully I'm speaking at the right time. But,
That's fine.
I certainly appreciate you guys giving me the time to speak, and I just wanted to ask that perhaps you reconsider the selection. I think the board agreed that we were a qualified firm. This has already been advertised twice. I don't know if a third advertisement is in the best interest of everybody's time. At this point, a selection of WGI would just allow you to enter into negotiations. If negotiations aren't found to be satisfactory, at that point you could re-advertise, and then I think we'd be back in the position we are now. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to answer any questions you have, but again, I just would ask that you reconsider and potentially consider selecting WGI today.
Thank you. Any comments, any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure, go right ahead.
Given your expertise, can you say why we're not getting other bids?
I'm not sure. Like I said, no, there's no shortage of firms looking to win contracts, at least in my experience. That's, like I said, it's been advertised twice. We've responded both times. I'm not sure how many responses were received on the first advertisement. So I can't speak to why nobody else would be responding.
Because there's too much easy work and nobody wants to.
Yeah, we've made entirely too much money, and we don't want any more money, so we just decided to stop going after it.
Mr. Camaris, do you have any updates or comments you'd like to make on that?
Only that the first advertisement, we received 3 responses, and the second one, we received just the one from WGI.
Okay. Board, any other comments or questions or change of position? No? All right, well, maybe 3's a charm.
We'll be resubmitting and look forward to hopefully working with you on the next one.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're down to board comments now. Any board comments? Any questions?
I'm set.
All set.
Andrew, anything you want to add? Mr. Higgins? Well, then I will adjourn this meeting at 10:15.